Hey everyone, it's Daphne. We're back together to work on page 6 of, I'm sorry, Safari Adventure. I kind of lost track of where I was for a second. So we've already done this on page 3, and I kind of walked you through how to build this. This is 8 by 8, and you're going to score through the center, and then you're going to cut a sliver out off the scored edge so that when you open it up, you've got this little slot, and that's where we're going to apply the slide that goes on this page. And this looks a little narrow to me, so I'm actually going to take my scissors and widen that up a little bit, and it'll just make the slide go a little bit more smoothly. So the way I did this, and I went over it on page 3, is once I folded it, yeah, I opened that up a little bit, I think that's better. Once I folded it, I put a 1/2 inch tick mark from the top down and from the bottom up, and then I just cut that slit by applying my ruler and holding it in place, and then using a X-Acto knife to cut this out. And that's how I came up with this. And it's a little bit fussy, but I'm real happy with the way it turned out in general. So that's what you guys will need to do. And you can, I mean, if you want to draw that line and cut it out freehand, you can do that as well. So when you're finished, what you need is a slot that is about a 1/16 of an inch wide. Yeah. And it needs to be at least a 1/16 of an inch wide so the slide will move up and down freely. And speaking of the slide, here is the slide. So again, I'll do that one more time. 8 by 8, score in half, and then you're going to cut this slit out. You need to do it freehand, or you can do it with a ruler and an X-Acto knife, which is what I did. So the slide is going to be 2 by 6, 2 by 6, and you're going to score it 1, 2, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 4, and 5. And you're going to fold it over on itself like so. And then these are going to get folded out like so. So when you're finished, you've got this. So we're going to apply glue to the center, and we're going to glue these two things down, and then this is the little hinge that's going to feed through the slot on the 8 by 8 piece. All right. So the center is 2 by 2, and you're going to fold these two flanges over, 1 and 2. And so when you're finished, you have a 2 by 2 square. And I'm just going to press this all into place. Okay. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take this flange, and you can see mine's not even, and that's okay. It's just going to be on the other side. You know what? I think I need to add a little more glue. Hang tight, guys. Okay, squeeze out any of the extra glue. Wipe it down. Okay. This is actually going to get covered with something decorative, so it doesn't really matter what it looks like. And then you can see my little flanges are just slightly different size. It doesn't matter. It's going to feed through the slot, and then you're going to open it back up like so. And that is the slide that will move up and down on your page like so. Okay. In addition to this, you're going to make 4 7 by 3.5 cards. 7 by 3.5. You're going to score it 3.5. You're going to do that 4 times, and there's going to be 1 on each corner. And we're not going to install these right now because they're going to get installed after we put a decorative layer here. But what we can do now is add this to the pocket page. Okay. So the pocket page is page 6 again. It's going to go just like so. Okay, so it should be, you want to dry fit it real quick on your page, and you shouldn't have anything hanging out. This is going to get covered with decorative paper, so don't worry. It is going to get covered. Okay, so I'm just checking to make sure it's not excessively over the edges of the pocket page, and it's not. So we're going to apply this to the pocket page using glue. We're going to glue around the edges, and we're going to come in a little bit, but we're going to leave plenty of space around this slider so that it can move up and down freely. So I'm probably going to come in within about 1 inch of the slide. And then you want to make sure that you're covering this 1/2 inch pretty thoroughly, because you're going to be sliding this up and down, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on these glue seams. So make sure you put about 1/2 inch glue line across the top and bottom, and then again I'm going to come in about halfway between the edge of the paper and the slider and add my glue. And for some reason my glue is really drying fast today, so I'm going to try to work quickly. Okay, all this needs to be remained clear because the slider needs to function. And we'll get plenty of glue on the bottom and across that top 1/2 inch. And that'll keep the whole page from torquing while you're pulling on your slide. Okay, that's good. Whoa. Okay, now we're gonna lay it down. Now, one of the things you need to be careful of, and you wanna go from one side to the other, is to not pull it, because because of the gap in the paper, you could actually cause it to buckle or bow or do something unpredictable. So I'm laying down one edge, I'm trying to get it square, and I didn't, so I'm going to start over. And then I'm going to let the second half of the page fall so that I'm not pulling against that. Of course, I have to make sure that there we go. Yeah. So that I'm not pulling this gap apart artificially. Okay, now we just press all that glue into place. So I had a little trouble because when I went to lay it down, this was actually standing up, so I didn't want to lay down. So you need to make sure that it's opened up on the inside. Okay, once everything's dry, this should slide pretty freely, and it does. So I'm happy with that. So that is it for page 6. So we will install these 4 cards that go on each one of the corners, but it's going to happen after we put our first designer layer down. So that's what that's going to look like. And you know it's black on black, so it's really hard to see, but as soon as we start adding decorative paper, it'll pop out. And then this centerpiece is going to get covered with something decorative. I don't know what yet. And that is it for page 6. I'll be back with some decorative paper and we'll get started on decorating this. Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and we're going to continue working on Safari Adventure, and we are on page 6. And so I've got the rough layout going here, and if you recall, this is going to be the same as page 3. So it's the same design, but I'm using different papers. And I've got these laid out. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and adhere these 2 main panels. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to draw a box, I think it's 1/4 inch in. I have to double check. Let's go back and look at page 3. Here it is. So basically I want the same offset, and yes, so I'm basically going 1/4 inch in from the edge of the designer paper, not the edge of the pocket page, so that I have this nice border all the way around. But first we want to make sure we've got these down, they're not floating around, so that we can get good marks. Okay, so this looks good. Coming to the end of this album. It's time to clean out the inside of my cap because it keeps getting stuck. I keep saying that every video and I haven't done it yet, so I need to get that done before too long. Okay. We're just going to slide it underneath the actual slide mechanism. And that looks very good. I got a little too much glue. Up here too. I'm using a wet wipe and it's a little too wet to actually put down on the paper. I like to have it almost dry before I'll apply it to my paper. Otherwise you might warp, but I need to get the glue off my fingers. So, all right, now we're gonna do the right side. And again, we're going to slide it underneath the mechanism. I'm actually just lifting it to help with that. I'm going to put something on it that's going to make it rigid, but for the time being, it's nice that it's actually flexible. All right. So I'm not sure if I'm getting my head in the shot or not, but those of you that, if I am, you may notice that there's a lot of gray going on here. And since we're in the middle of quarantine, I thought what better time than now to try to go gray. So I actually think I'm going to stop coloring my hair, and I'm using the quarantine as an excuse to try to make that transition once and for all. I tried it once before and I just couldn't get used to myself with gray hair, so I'm going to give it another shot. All right, so now, like I said, we're going to do that 1/4 inch line all the way in, or all the way around. And I really just want to focus on getting this corner piece down, because once that's in, that is really the reference line we're going to wind up working off of, is these two corners. Two lines that meet to make a corner. Sorry, I wasn't speaking very clearly. Again, this is a 1/4 inch off of the designer paper, not the pocket page. So there's one. Come around, do it again. You know, I'm using my Tim Holtz ruler, but if you have a tape tear tool, you can use that too, because there's two lines that are cut into it. One is an 1/8 inch and one's a 1/4 inch. So you could also use that as a way to come up with your 1/4 inch line. Again, these are my reference lines. Oops, I need to do one more. When I actually lay down the cards, I'm going to also do a visual and straighten them out visually, just in case anything got laid down and torqued. It doesn't really matter where the lines are. What you want is for it to look straight. Okay. So there we go. I'm trying to decide if I want to decorate these. So I'm going to go ahead and lay them down first. So let's do a test. I'm going to put everything where the marks are, see how it looks, and if it looks good, then we'll start gluing these down, and then we'll decorate them. This is a fun page. It's actually easy, like I said earlier, it's very easy to decorate. It's a little fussy to make, but very easy to decorate. Once you yeah, everything looks really good, so I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and start laying these down permanently. You guys have to let me know what you think of this page. Like I said, I've seen it done by several people, but I don't know how they did it. I just sort of figured out a way to do it. I'm sure it's can't be too different than what I've done. I'm not sure if they use one piece and put a split in it, or if they just put two pieces side by side. but I'm liking it. Okay. Looks good. Let's get this one in. Make sure you're open. They're all opening away from the center. I'll slide this down. We'll place these. Okay, now let's get everything turned right side up again, because I don't want to accidentally put my patterns in upside down. Yay! I like it. This is the current plan. And then I'm doing a very neutral tan and black on the inside, just like I did on the other one. It's different patterns, but kind of a similar look. So that's the current, and this is the alternative. We're on page 6, and it's going to open to page 7. So before I make this decision, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my page 7 and see what it looks like. Since they're going to open it toward each other, I want to consider, I know that's going to be my top flap, and I think that's why I had chose those. Good grief. And that's my pocket, so that's going to go like so. And I think I chose this pattern to pull this back in over here, but we're also using this, so what to do. One, let's put the black down so we can see the whole thing. So that's 1, 2. I don't know. I'm not sure what goes in the middle here. Can't remember. Just left and right. So I think, yeah, that's what's going to go on the bottom. So let's look and see. So this tan is what's going to be showing through here. Like so. Oh, decisions. What's on the other side? No, can't do that. That's a cut apart on the other side that I can't use. I'm not sure. Well, I'm going to set this aside for a second. So I know for sure I'm going to use these 2 stripes, and these I'm going to go back and forth on for a few minutes. So let's go ahead and get the stripes in. that's very thin. Okay. I think I'm at the end here. The final. Okay, I need to change my glue out, so I'm going to do that real quick. And I'm breaking the rules by not cleaning my cap, but I don't want to take a break right now. So I'm still thinking about these two, so in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and decorate the inside. Okay, so we've got what are essentially going to be alternating patterns. Let me move page 7 a little more out of the way so I don't have to look at it. Okay, so I know I want this, so this is pretty straightforward. Good grief, that's a lot of glue. Didn't feel like I put that much on. Okay, I'm going to turn this all around so I can get a little bit closer to me. side. There we go. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? Okay, these will close. This is going to slide up. So now we still have to make that final decision about these two panels. And I am going to pull page 7 back in so we can decide based on what it actually looks like. So this should fit inside this pocket. Okay, there we go. It's going to look like so. And like so. So what do we like? Do we like the reds or the blues? And I think I'm gonna go with the blues, and then I think whatever my pocket insert's gonna be, I think it's gonna have this pattern on it, or at least partially be covered in this pattern. So that's what I'm gonna do. So we're gonna use, and which is, by the way, this is what I had originally chosen, so I went right back to it. There we go. So I'm going to move page 7 out of the way so we can take a look at page 6 now that it's finished. And I got to find my cap. So there's page 6. So we've got our slider, and we've got these pieces that open to the left and right. I'm real happy with that. There we go. Looks good. I misplaced my glue cap, so I'm going to stop right here. That's the end of page 6, and I know that went together really quickly, which is one of the reasons I kind of like that. And when we get back together, we will finish decorating, or we'll get started on page 7. So that was the end of page 6. Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and I'm coming back around now that I figured out what I'm going to do with these sliders, and I went ahead and did page 2, and then together we're going to do page 7, so you'll know how to do it when we're finished. But I wanted to test it first, and I'm happy with the results. So there's page 2. That's what it's going to look like. I wound up using 2 of the DCE, so I got 2 sets of chipboard, and it just turns out that this chipboard fits perfectly. It's a 2x2. Again, this is page 2. So we are going to work together on page 6. Now, what I had mentioned when I was putting this together is it felt like if these flanges were lifted a little, it would slide over these cards better, and it does. So what I've decided to use is a piece of chipboard. So it's just the same chipboard that I used to cover the album, or to make the outside of the album. I just cut a sliver, and I'm going to put it in the center, and then I'm going to hold these up, and I'm going to glue this piece down and then pull these pieces up. And that way on the back side of this chipboard, it will be slightly raised, and it'll hold it just off this just enough that it's going to slide freely. Okay. And let me tell you how wide this is. Not very, I just eyeballed it. It's about a quarter of an inch wide. It doesn't have to be that wide, but that's what mine is. So once I laid it down, once I glued it to the top of the slide, then I kind of folded the 2 sides around it. And I just realized I forgot to do something. I'm going to snip these 4 corners because I don't want them to stick out past the chipboard, and it's actually easier to trim it before I put the chipboard on. I figured that much out already. Now on the other one, what I did was I laid it down, and then I just drew little pencil marks so I'd know where to snip it, but I've already done it once. So this should do it. Okay, now I'm going to put glue on the back, all over the back of this. and press it onto both that chipboard piece and the cardstock. Okay, and see, I just cut off enough that it's not showing any of the black cardstock. And now I'm going to take my bone folder and slide it underneath and make sure that I'm pressing the cardstock up, because remember there's that piece of chipboard in the center. So I'm just making sure that everything is good and tight, pressing this into place. Okay, and it slides very easily. It's hard to demonstrate that, but that lift was just enough to help it glide easily. I still have to pay attention to the corners when you're going over it, but it's a lot easier than it was before I used this technique. So that should help you guys. And I'm not sure if you can really see it. Now, even me looking at it this way, it's very hard to see it, but putting that little piece of chipboard toward the center and then raising up the black cardstock to meet the chipboard, it made it pretty easy to slide back and forth. So that was what I decided to do for both page 2 and page 7. I had done page 2 ahead of time because I wanted to test it. So that is what these two look like now. They have the same chipboard piece because it just happened to be the right size. It doesn't have to be chipboard. Whatever you do decide to put here, it should be relatively rigid, and that plan to sort of lift up the edges I think is a good idea, so that it helps it slide more freely. And like I said, I think it should be kind of rigid, otherwise it might get stuck. But yeah, see, that works really well. Okay, thanks everybody. That's it.